What's up, guys? Welcome to this week's video. Today we are working on the old XR. So I have had this bike now for 2 years, and I've just clocked a little over 4,000 miles. So it was just shy of 14,000 when I got it, and I just hit 18,000. So I've put 4,000 miles on it in the last 2 years that I've had it. And so that is putting it up for sort of a good little go through. I've changed the oil about every 2,000 miles. I changed it when I first got it. I've changed it once. This will be the third time I've changed it. But here's kind of what we're going to be doing, because this is going to get a full go through here on this bike. So to start with, as far as just maintenance goes, so we've got our 1040. That's what I run. Now the manual calls for 1030, but we here in South Mississippi, it's so hot. It is such a hot climate that I decided to run 1040 in it. I talked to the guy at the Honda shop right after I got the bike. He said it won't hurt nothing, because some years of the 650L, they call for 1040. So it's fine. It does great. But in this hot climate, I think the 1040 keeps a little bit more, a little thicker oil. Anyway, plus we're at 18,000 miles, so is what it is. We've also got our oil filter here that you can go. There's your part number for that. So we got an oil filter, and we're going to change the spark plug. And this is just the NGK factory regular spark plug. So I put a plug in it when I first got the bike. If you're familiar with the story of us buying this bike, the day we went to buy it, it wouldn't start. The guy had it pressure washed, had it cleaned. He went down the road in it before I got there, and I got there, and I went to crank it up, and it would not fire. And I know that was kind of embarrassing for him, because we've all probably been there where you're selling something that's perfectly fine until the buyer gets there. But I could tell nothing was majorly wrong, but we swapped the plug there that day, seeing if that would help. Of course it did. It ended up being the little pulse box that goes on the inside. But anyway, that plug has been in there now for 4,000 miles. Nothing on this bike is doing anything weird. It's running great. It's not making any noises. But as I said in the cleaning video a couple of weeks ago, I just believe in maintenance. I'm a big fan of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I also believe in preventive maintenance on stuff. A plug, this is $3. We'll throw a new plug in it. We're going to change the oil in it. And we're also going to check the valve adjustment. Again, it's not ticking. It's not doing anything weird. But we're just going to check it. I'm just going to make sure the valve adjustment is still within spec, because that's a 4,000 mile schedule thing. So we're going to check the valve adjustment. And then we're going to play around with the suspension. I've got a lot of comments over the last couple of years on my suspension. I tend to agree. We all know that the 650s are a tall bike naturally. They are already tall. I'm running a little bit bigger back tire, which doesn't help. But I do have the lower end link that drops the back an inch. And I've slid my fork tubes about that far, which is not much. So couple of things. I've never adjusted the sag on this thing, which we're going to do. We're going to check it, see if it needs adjusting. And my biggest complaint with this bike is the height of it. It's just such a tall bike. So I'm going to try to get this thing a little bit lower for me. I'm 5'10". I weigh 165 pounds as I stand. So when you put my boots, my helmet, my riding gear on, I would imagine I'm pushing close to 180, which is what I've been able to tell these bikes are set up for. But I don't know if the previous owner ever changed any of that. He was about my size, but he used this bike more for touring. He had hard bags on it. He had a lot of stuff on this thing, street tire type stuff. And so he might have stiffened it up. I don't know. But I've had some comments that people notice when I sit on it, it doesn't sag down that much. So try to get the suspension a little bit better. Throughout this video as well, I'm going to talk with you about my motorcycle plans. It's what the future may or may not hold as far as motorcycles goes. I've been a two-wheel guy my whole life. You can see my old BMX bike back here in the background. From BMX bikes to Harleys and choppers and all that kind of stuff. And this has been one of the funnest things, and I did not expect to fall in love with adventure riding as much as I have. But it is such a fun thing to do. And so I don't know what the future is with the XR. If it stays, if something else is going to come in. We're going to talk about that as we work. But nonetheless, I'm going to quit yapping, and we're going to start diving into this thing. First things first, I think I'm going to do my valve adjustment first. So we're going to get the tank and the seat off, adjust our valves, and then we'll go from there. We are tore down as far as we need to be. So under here, under these caps is where our valves are. You got exhaust and intake, and remembering that should be easy. Your intake is right here, carburetor. So this one and that one right over there, intake. These two are exhaust because obviously exhaust. So, you know, so I gotta go double check, but I think you want these about 4 thousandths and these about 5 thousandths. So we're gonna pull this plug and this one, turn this until we see our T show up in our window here. Then we'll know we're at top dead center, and then we can adjust our valves from there. So super simple, not hard at all. But you can see the mud and stuff I can never clean in here, but this is exactly what I was talking about a few weeks ago. But it's clean for the most part. All I gotta do is kind of blow this off, and we know we got a clean work surface to start with. So anyway, all right, well, I'm gonna blow that off, get those caps off, and set our top dead center, and we'll check our valve. Okay, so we've got a 15/16 wrench for our valve covers. I don't know what size it's supposed to be, but that's the only thing I have that is close to fitting. We've got a 6mm Allen head for the window and 10mm for our adjustment window. So I don't know. When I got the bike, he had told me that he had just had this all done, had all the valves adjusted and whatnot. So, you know, all I can say is okay. All right, I don't have a 6mm Allen socket, so I'm going to try to do this instead. All right. So, I've adjusted valves before, but I've never done it on this bike. So, we take our 17mm, turn it counterclockwise, which is going to be like loosening it. And we're going to be looking for a little T. He's got RTV all in this thing. A little T inside of our window. So I'm going to get it there, and then I will show you guys once I got it. All right, you see the dash T? So that dash line, you want to line up with that line in the bottom of the thing. So I'm a little bit off, but that's what you're looking for. So you turn it till you see that. We'll have to check our valves, make sure they got a little bit of slack in them, because we may need to go one more rotation. And there's a lot of good videos online, guys, about this. This is a fairly common video. So if I miss a step, don't persecute me too bad. I'm just doing what I'm doing. There's no play in those, so I'm gonna think we may have to go one more rotation. So they're going down. All right. I still don't feel no slack, but that's gonna have to be it. So all right, so now we get our feeler gauge. We'll check and see where we're at. Well, guys, we lost audio during this recording for some reason. I had a lot more trouble than I expected adjusting the valves on this thing. They seemed way too tight at top dead center. I never could find them to have any slack. So I set what they were where they should have been. As you'll find in just a minute, we're going to crank it up and see what it does. So you're going to see me do a little back and forth in this video before I finally got them to where they should be. But I'm still not sure why it did that. I rotated the engine a few times over, just making sure that I was on the right stroke. But nonetheless, in the end, we got it. And here in just a second, the audio for some reason comes back, and we'll let you hear how awful it is. All right, before we start it up, I'm going to show you guys. This is the old plug. It's not going to. It's got a little bit of buildup on the end of it. You can see a little bit of buildup on the back side of that thing. This was brand new 4,000 miles ago, so we got a new one. Factory part number there. NGK plug. So I'm going to slap this one in and tighten it up, and we'll crank this thing and see what it does. I'm curious. Okay, we got our gas hook back up. Let's turn that on. I don't know what to expect here, y'all. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of a unforeseen thing. I don't really know what to expect right now. Unless the T that I'm looking at, something off there. Whew, yeah. I was kind of expecting that, to be honest, because if they would have really been that tight out of adjustment, I would have had some symptoms, and I didn't. So I'm looking for the elusive flathead again. So I'm gonna pull it back up and let's see what's up. Okay, y'all. So I don't know what happened the first time. I pulled the plug, made sure I was on compression stroke. I mean, everything, lined the T up, but I just did it again. So I don't know what. I knew I had to be missing something a minute ago, but I don't know what. I don't know what I was missing, but I was clearly missing something. So now let's adjust them this time, which is probably going to be about where they were last time. And we can work that back in there. That one may actually be a little on the loose side. I'd like a little more drag than that. Everybody's got their own thing. I prefer to be, I don't like to say a little on the loose or tight side, but I want more drag than that. I want to be able to just wedge the feeler gauge in there. And I always kind of turn my screwdriver into the wrench at an equal, try to do somewhat of an equal deal there, so that they, because if you don't, that screw is so fickle. Oh yeah, crazy loose. It's amazing that these things will even run like that. So okay, well, we're at kind of a just work and talk space. So I love my XR. Depending on what we kind of come up with suspension here today is going to have a lot to do with what we're about to talk about. But it's a very tall bike. I ride as y'all know, a lot of gravel roads, single track, you know, stuff like that. I ride off road. I don't really ride just around town and whatnot. I'm mainly off road where I'm riding. So there's been countless times where had I been able to have better footing, I wouldn't have dropped the bike. I would have been able to hold it. And I have been looking, I guess long story short, I've been looking at some other bikes. Now, I'm a Honda guy, always have been. I don't generally dislike any other brands. I think KTM's are cool. Tenere T7s are undeniably cool. I just, you know, when it comes to me, I'm sort of a brand loyal guy, and I just like Honda. So within the Honda, my options that I've kind of leaned towards is the 300L, more specifically the 300L Rally, as well as a Transalp. Kind of looked at the 450Ls, but the seat height on them is pretty much the same as these. And then more recently, kind of an underdog coming out of nowhere is the CB500X. Now, there's a lot that I don't like about that bike, but I feel like that bike in the trim that I would want to do it in would be a really, really cool bike. I do like stuff that most people don't have and I'm into. I've always kind of been like that. And so the 500X, I know it doesn't have a huge following, but to me it looks better than a Transalp. It's got 4-inch lower seat height than the XR does. I don't like the cast wheels. I'd rather have spokes, but that's, you know, that's fixable. I like the looks. It looks good, but the price point of those, I've been looking at used ones on Marketplace, and they're right around 6,000. Whereas Transalps, you know, they're up there at 9. The 300L rallies are around the 6,000 mark as well. You know, been just kind of looking at those. Am I ready to pull the trigger on a bike right now and do something? No. And my goal in this video, we're gonna mess with the suspension, try to get it a little bit lower. But you know, just been looking out there. If you got a 500X and you know, you dig it, let me know in the comments what you think about it. I know I do love the simplicity of these XRs. You know, just as they call them, apocalypse bikes, just straightforward, easy to work on like we're doing now. No crazy tools, just basic stuff. You know, I do dig that. But you know how it is too. If you're a car guy or bike guy, after a couple of years, you kind of start getting bored, want something new. That's partially where I'm at. But I don't know, guys. I say all of this, and then I go ride this, and I'm like, shh, I don't want anything else. This bike is awesome. And so, you know, who knows? I may go ride here and forget all about it. But in my head at the moment, you know how you dream and you think. In my head at the moment, I'm picturing the 300Xs come with a green color, and I love green. But I can picture in my head that green with a set of gold rims with spokes, the anodized gold. Just, I think would look absolutely insane. So those are my thoughts as I work. I like the Transalps. I've actually went and sat on one the other day, and had the ground clearance was great. a good firm ball of my foot, and I just had tennis shoes on. I'm sure if I had my riding boots on, I'd get a little bit more. But it felt good. It's about 100 pounds heavier than the XR is, but they've got it balanced out real well. You know, the 300L, I feel like, and I'm not sure on any of this, guys, I'm just thoughts, would be, you know, pretty good sacrificing power, going from a 600 to a 300. But I don't know. I just don't know, y'all. I'm just more or less thinking out loud. All right, there should be enough gas in that carburetor to just do a crank up and see. Oh yeah. Well, we've been letting the bike run for a few minutes just to get some heat in it, get the oil circulating good. So now we're going to drain out. You got a plug here. Then you got another one on the other side, drains out the crank. Most of your oil is going to come out here, and your oil filter's behind here. But they just want the oil hot, like with any car. Get all this trash and stuff circulating so that when you drain it, it all comes out. Also drains a little bit better. Now, the last time that I drained the oil, I took the screen out. There's a screen down here in the bottom. You pull the skid plate off, and right up under here there's a little screen. Last time I changed the oil, I took that off and cleaned all that up. It wasn't nothing on it really, but cleaned that up my last oil change just because I was curious. The bike does seem to be cranking a lot faster now. Whether that's due to the new plug or the valve adjustment or all of the above, I don't know, but it does seem to bust off a little quicker now. So that's good. I know a lot of guys run Rotella in their bikes, and they'll argue that, you know, that's cheaper, it's more readily available. And I mean, I wouldn't argue that. I did it. My first oil change I ever did on this bike, I did Rotella. And my issue with it was the bike always had a smell like it was burning oil. Anytime I was riding and I'd stop, it just smelled like I had an oil leak somewhere. I went over everything. It just smelled like it was burning oil all the time. As far as the actual consumption, it wasn't no worse, but it just had that smell. I don't know why. I also I'm a Wix filter guy. I like Wix. All my cars have Wix in them. And I had put a Wix filter on this one. And I like the Wix filter, but it's just easier if you're in the Honda shop just to get it all while you're there. Get the oil filter, the whole nine. And so that's what I do. It's convenient for me just to go in there and get everything at one time. This thing has a little spring in it. Yep, that's what I was afraid of. That was why I said in my head, if I remember right, take it off the deal, because now my skid plate's full of oil. Yay. Let's wipe that out. We'll throw a new filter in there, and we're good to go. The oil is up here on the side, So you got to make that goes up there. There's a mark here on the side, and then a mark here on the case. We'll spray her down before we crank it, and we'll get all that oil out of the bottom. We'll wash it off. All right, I'm gonna take it off the stand, and we'll drain the crankcase on the other side. Did that one time. Thought the kickstand was down. Guess what? It wasn't. And Judah was standing right next to it, and it fell and just didn't miss him. Scared him to death. Scared me to death. But always check. All right. That's the downside of the skid plate. There's no just absolute clean way to do this, but I always just change the oil, and then I'll take it outside and soak it and spray it out, and it's fine. This is what it is. Okay, so the manual calls 2 quarts, then crank it, let it run, and let it run about 3 to 5 minutes. Nothing wrong with 1030. I talked to the guy at the Honda shop when I. All right, guys. Well, the oil is changed and topped off. It ended up taking 2 quarts initially, not quite 2 quarts before it kind of started filling up in my funnel. Crunk it, let it run a couple of minutes and get warm. Then let it sit a couple of minutes on level ground. So I just put it back on the stand, and then it took just a dash out of that 3rd quart. So not much out of the 3rd. I buy 4 because this does burn a little bit of oil over the course of a couple thousand miles. So when I take trips and stuff like that, like I'm planning on doing on this oil change, I just go ahead and buy an extra quart to bring with me. So whatever. But all right, so oil is changed. All right, let's now lower the forks. So this is going to be pretty straightforward to begin with. I'm going to loosen these two up in here, and same on this side. You don't want to take them out. You just want to break them loose because you don't want the forks just freewheeling, but you do want them to be able to slide up. I'm assuming we're going to go right to the bottom of this line right here. It's about where we're going to let the clamp come down to. And we'll see what we got to do with the turn signal, all that kind of stuff. If it all looks right, looks okay, I think I can live with it. Then I'll tighten them down. We'll measure our sag, and that will be it for our maintenance for this trip. If not, as you've seen, stuff that's easy, sometimes you got to scratch your head and fight a little bit. Okay, well, we got the front dropped about 3/4 of an inch. Nothing hits. I'm shocked. I thought everything would be hitting, but it's not. And we checked the sag. With me setting on it, it only drops about 2 inches. And from what I can tell, you want anywhere from 3 to 4.5, something like that. 90 to 110 millimeters is what they say, which comes out to a little bit over 3 up to like 4.5. So if I could get another inch sag out of it, what you got to do is you got to come in here, and you got these adjuster nuts right in there. The one on the top right here is lock, and the one underneath is your adjuster. So we'll knock that top one loose, and then we'll start loosening the bottom one as well, and it just takes a little bit of tension off of that spring and lets it relax a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to do while Andrew sits here and laughs at reels, and and see if that helps out a little bit. I'm just starting with one rotation off. It's been adjusted before. I can see marks on there where somebody has adjusted it before. So I'm going to go one rotation, and we'll check and see where that is, and just kind of go from there. You want to measure and see what it is?
Feel different?
I mean, I can curve my toes now on the floor.
Both of them?
Yeah. So that's better.
That is better. Time to watch more reels. We made a bet the other day that I won, and he was supposed to cook, and he still hasn't done it. So now when you're editing this, you'll see that I'm salty about it. Here he comes. It works. That was a straight dad sneeze.
All right, guys. Well, I have went on a ride, as you can see with how nasty the bike is. And the suspension improvements and adjustments, I will say, should have done them a long time ago. It was so much better, so much better. I've been working on my water crossings and going through water and stuff like that, and felt so much better. There was one time I had to put my foot down, and the ability to do it, and it was just better, just all around better. Should have done them a long time ago. Bike run way stronger, way better. I could notice a really good improvement in power, especially low end. It just trucked right along great. So yeah, and so all of it, thumbs up. And as you can see there, we got a new tire in for this one. So next thing we're gonna be doing in another video, we're gonna be putting a new tire. This one's still got a little bit of life left in it, not much, but I just went ahead and got the tire because I want to go ahead and have it. Because as you know, my plan is in October to go do the Smoky Mountain 500. At the moment, it is a solo ride. Anybody wants to tag along, let me know. So before I do the 500, I'll be putting the tire on, all that kind of stuff. But anyway, thank y'all for watching. I know this was kind of a long video. Hopefully you didn't find it too boring. But yeah, XR is still kicking along, doing good. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you later. Guys, y'all know how I am with spiders. I'm out here riding DeSoto today on the bike. Banana spiders are out. I have picked this guy up somewhere along the way. Can't get him to get off my motorcycle. I got a limb here. I'm trying to get him off. Got him. I do not do spiders. I don't know where it went. I need to verify that it is not on my bike, because I am back here on some single track. I didn't know, we ain't seen them at the house. Man, where is that thing? God, they can hide. We hadn't seen them at the house. I'm like, okay, they ain't out yet. But I was bebopping down a little trail over here, and you can tell their webs are super strong, and one come right across my visor, and I was like, oh no. And a little bit up the road, and boom, there was one, and there's a massive one right here. I know they're not poisonous. Didn't even know that one was on my bike. If that thing would have crawled on me though while I'm riding, it would not be good. It would not have been a good outcome. I do not see that thing. I know I knocked it off. Where are you? They don't move very much, I think, when they get on the ground. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's off. I was walking around here looking and marking this as a camp spot, and I looked over, and it was down in here crawling out, and I was like, oh my gosh, if I'd have seen that riding. There's a big one over here. So what does this mean for me? It means I'm done with single track in South Mississippi till after the first or second freeze. I don't do spiders, y'all. Snakes, you know, I'm not that worried about snakes, nothing like that. With spiders, I rode right through this son of a gun. I ducked, clipped off the bottom part of her web. That's a male. I don't know if you can see, and there's a male there. They're a lot smaller. There she is. God, you just can't see them. That's my hand for reference. I'm not getting any closer than that, but those are big spiders. Big spiders. And like I said, they're not poisonous. Yeah, I got web all over me, guys, and it pulls. I'm freaking out. I gotta get out of here and get back on gravel. But I've heard they got a pretty painful bite. I don't know. I just don't want to find out. Don't want to know. So anyway, not filming riding today. Just thought I would share that with y'all.